So today we're diving into the real estate market for April and to find out exactly what is happening with the buyers and sellers as we take a deeper dive to exactly what's affecting home sellers and why we're not seeing as many homes return to the market. And of course, get you caught up on all the numbers from last month. Hi, I'm Jake Tysiak, that guy that sells houses, and thanks for joining me today as we go over April's numbers in the real estate market here in the Chicagoland area. And of course, we'll be touching a little bit on DuPage County as well as Will County also. Today, though, we're going to also be looking at delinquencies as we traditionally do, as there has been a reversal there yet again in a positive direction. But also we're going to focus on and try to find out exactly what is happening with sellers. And we're going to talk a little bit more about where our sellers traditionally come from and why there's been a shift and change in what we're seeing return to market. But let's start off first with talking about home sales price. Now, our average one-year sales price, we saw an increase in April up to over $322,000, which is a 1.5% increase in sales price when we look at compared back to March. And that actually represents about a 10% increase over last year's April number. And along those same lines, we did see a slight increase in the amount of actual closed sales in the month of April. Now, again, we're trying to figure out exactly when we're going to see a little bit more balanced return to this market. And with new listings, we did see a slight increase, although not as much as we would like. Now, avoiding last year as we were just started into the pandemic of the shelter in place, when we look back at 2019 numbers, we can see that we're still off about 20% of the amount of new listings we traditionally see coming to market during April. Now, during this time, we also did see an increase of homes going under contract as well. And when we really look at the amount of inventory, the amount of homes for sale has started to level off just a little bit. Actually, in DuPage County, we saw almost a 10% increase in the amount of homes for sale at the end of the month. And when we look at the amount of inventory, though, obviously with April having more homes sold, or I should say go under contract, we can see that we are shifting and staying almost at a saturation point with the amount of homes, as buyers are at this point pretty much just waiting for homes to come on the market, as we've sort of seen in the past few months also. Now, trying to stay pace with what's going on as far as foreclosures, we're looking back at delinquencies. Now, last month we did see our first increase dating back to last May. Now, however, that trend has reversed here in April. We saw from a 6% delinquency rate drop down to 5.02, so almost a full percent lower. And again, less delinquencies mean less chance of foreclosure. So good news on that front. So this month, I really wanted to dive into exactly who our sellers are composed of and how these numbers have been shifting over the past few months and year to really compare and see why exactly we just don't have as many listings coming on the market, as there are a few different varieties of sellers that we traditionally see. For example, new construction is one avenue that we see homes coming to the MLS. Now, this isn't fully represented, as a lot of times we'll just see a couple homes represented by the builder. And of course, once you visit a sales office, they have more lots available. Now, with new construction, though, it seems like these numbers are not as aggressive as some might anticipate. But part of this, I believe, is lessons learned after the 2008 crash, when there was new construction just blowing up everywhere. Not to mention, a lot of urban areas are more concentrated with homes already built in some of these prime areas that were taken advantage of 10 years ago. Now, also keep in mind, though, materials are a little bit more expensive now than they were back then, even 2 years ago, and that makes it a little bit more of a difficult decision whether they should increase prices or hold off on building new construction at the time. Now, foreclosures and short sales are another variation of where we see homes coming to market. Now, these prices, like I've mentioned, over the past few months have increased, and this has given an option for those who are finding themselves in financial straits to sell their home without having to go through the foreclosure process or having less equity, as, again, prices are just increasing and there's more equity there. Now, also, as we look at the delinquencies, these numbers for short sales and foreclosures have been coming down over the years, and it hasn't really slowed down, with forbearance giving more options to people who find themselves in financial difficulties. Another source of homes coming to the market has been investors. Now, there have been lots of fix and flip investors out there that make a living off of finding homes that can be increased in value and then returned to market for a profit. However, in today's current climate, with materials being more expensive and also the price of real estate in itself being more expensive, it's harder to find those margins necessary to make a smart investment in a fix and flip home. Now, on the contrary, there's also investors who just simply buy a home for long-term investment and find tenants to rent out the place in the meantime. Now, these homes, we are actually starting to see more come to market in the form of single-family homes. We'll notice this often as we're going through the MLS, and it's stated in there that there is a lease in place ending in either the end of May or June, as we've seen a lot more of these pop up, signaling investors find now is a good time to cash out and take some of their equity with them. So we are seeing more of these return. And this is also amplified by the fact that the demand is so hot right now that they need to do little in the way of improving the property to get it ready for market. Now, lastly, let's talk about just home sellers who are looking for a different place, as this makes up the majority of our market. Now, during these times, you can be looking for something a little bit larger. Maybe the kids have moved out and you need something a little bit smaller, or you just want something a little bit more luxurious. Well, the problem with this is that homeowners need to find new homes to live in most of the time. It's not very often that homeowners have two homes to choose to live between. So in this scenario, obviously, if you're selling your home, you need to find a place to go to. And in today's current market, where it's easier to put a home on the market than it is to find your next one, it often comes with some waiting as you're out there as a home seller looking for your next home. It's hard for me to advise anybody who wants to sell their home right now that it's a good idea to put your home on the market before you find your next one. The market's moving so quick and there's so much competition. It's better for you as a home seller to go out and find the home you want to purchase and then get creative with financing, whether it be borrowing against equity or some unconventional loans that can help suffice that down payment that you need from selling this home to purchasing the next one, and make that contract not contingent upon you selling your home, knowing that it's easier to sell your home in this competitive market. Now, that is contrary to what we traditionally preach. Traditionally, we want you as a home seller who's purchasing a home to put your home on the market so we can have a contract to signify to the next seller that you're prepared, ready to move into their home quickly. So while you're out there trying to find their home to purchase, they're out there trying to find another home to purchase, and potentially there could be someone waiting to purchase your home. And you can see how quickly we become backlogged, and we just don't have the amount of sellers available at the market. Not to mention, there are just still people who aren't quite comfortable having strangers come through their home with everything happening currently. So really at this point, it's best just to have some more patience. Obviously, there are more homes coming to the market. We're also seeing regulations loosen up a little bit around COVID, and people are just becoming more comfortable as time goes on. It's not going to be a dead stop where all of a sudden homes are on the market. It's going to take some time, and obviously we're going to get through this. And of course, to help get your offer accepted, check out our video up here, and for our Buyer Survivor Guide, take a look right here. I'm Jake Tysiak with Keller Williams. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next month or sooner. I'll have more videos sooner. Bye.